heart disease, of clotting, of stroke, and of breast cancer.
In the study, compared to women taking placebo, those on estrogen and progestin together had a 22% higher risk of heart disease, 26% higher risk of breast cancer, and a 41% higher risk of stroke.
And as you can imagine, this was very, very big news.
Tonight, the wonder has come out of hormone replacement therapy.
I think the majority of women taking this combination therapy will be told by their physicians to stop.
There's just this sense of dire concern that these risks were elevated, and women responded in droves to this fear, and they were calling their doctors, they were throwing their hormones, flushing them down the toilet.
So it sets off basically a panic.
Yes. One doctor I interviewed said that she remembered when JFK was shot, she remembered 9/11, and she remembered the day of the WHI press conference because she had never received that many calls in one day.
So clearly this is a huge shift for women, and I have to imagine it comes with some anger. The women were sort of given this treatment that was supposed to help them, but now they're thinking it's actually putting them at danger of grave disease like cancer.
Yes, I think that's exactly right, and I also think a lot of doctors felt a lot of guilt that they had been prescribing this so aggressively to women of all ages under the assumption that it was going to be this kind of miracle cure.
Right.
And so because of this press conference and the huge impact that it had, women really stopped asking their doctors about it. Doctors, not all,
it's
but
Friday,
many, kind of stopped prescribing it or recommending it and started discouraging women from using menopausal hormone therapy. And medical schools pretty much stopped teaching it.
Oh, wow.
And menopausal hormone therapy basically just fell off the map. But here's the thing. There's a way of looking at all that information that is much more nuanced and allows much more for women's agency. And because of the way the information was delivered and the way it was interpreted by the medical community, millions of women probably have suffered needlessly over the decades since.
We'll be right back.
My name is Dynasty Taylor, and I'm the founder of Dynasty's United Youth Association in Inglewood, California. We provide free educational, career, and mental health services to youth ages 5 to 18. We are providing students hope and creating programs that supports their overall development. When I see thriving, that is the joy that these students bring to my life.
U.S. Bank supports finding the courage to thrive. To learn how U.S. Bank can help you go further, visit usbank.com.
This is Ira Glass, the host of This American Life, and I'm here because one of our producers has a brand new podcast. And it's the kind of story that when you hear it, you're like, I can't believe this really happened. You get mad. It's about women who went to the Yale Fertility Center and had a procedure called egg retrieval. And patient after patient, month after month, would complain of excruciating pain, as if the anesthesia wasn't working at all. And basically they say their pain was ignored. Some assume there must be something wrong with them. Until, finally, everyone found out what was really going on. And all kinds of things unfolded from there. It's called The Retrievals, hosted by Susan Burton, who's done some of the most memorable stories on This American Life, produced by our co-workers at Serial Productions and by the New York Times. Again, The Retrievals. Listen to the first one. I bet you get hooked. Find it wherever you get your podcasts.
So Susan, you said that the findings from that big study and the risks of hormone therapy, that the way they were presented led to a misinterpretation. How exactly was the study misinterpreted?
So there were several ways. One thing we do know is that the public has a pretty poor understanding of how to think about risk statistics. So, if a woman's risk of having breast cancer between the ages of 50 and 60 is around 2.33%, If you increase that risk by 26%, which is what the study did find for the women who were on those hormones, then you get something like 2.94%. And that is an increase, but it might be small enough of an increase that for some women it would be a risk they'd be willing to take. And it's a risk level that only kicks in after 5 years of use or so, by the way. So I think there was not a lot of context. And when people hear something like a 26% increased risk, maybe they think, oh, that means I have a 26% chance now of getting this cancer, or they don't know what the starting point is. So it's hard to interpret it without really getting into the nitty-gritty, but those things are really important. And there were a lot of good things that came out that were overlooked in the aftermath of this huge news story about how dangerous they were. So there was research that suggests that for women who start hormones in their 50s, before the age of 60 or within 10 years of going through menopause, that there actually could be cardiovascular benefits if they started taking the hormone earlier rather than later. And there was another arm of the trial that only studied women who had hysterectomies who did not need to take progestogen, and those women actually had a decreased risk of breast cancer and overall better long-term health outcomes, which is meaningful because something like a third of women by the age of 50 have had hysterectomies. Other research came out that found that using hormones could lower the risk of diabetes, and we certainly knew it lowered the risk of osteoporosis, which for many women is really important in terms of quality of life, in terms of mobility. But it wasn't the job of the people conducting these trials to evaluate quality of life issues. That's not what they intended to do, and it really wouldn't have been appropriate. But because that countervailing issue wasn't ever presented, I think it got lost in this larger dialogue.
So actually, a better version of the coverage could have been something like hormone therapy could mean increased risk of breast cancer and other things like stroke or blood clots. But that risk is still limited, and most importantly should be weighed against the benefits that we know that women experience through this treatment. But instead it was conveyed as representing this huge risk, and so no wonder everyone basically stopped taking it.
I think that's really accurate. It was understood to be a really dramatic, really scary risk. And epidemiologically across the population, it's not nothing. It is a thing. But just there was no context, and there was no opportunity for women to have the agency to think in an informed way about what that risk was.
So when you begin to engage in this question for yourself and you look at what your options are, you're basically walking into a world that's sort of still dealing with the aftermath of this misinterpretation and misunderstanding.
Yeah, I was walking into a world in which, although there were always doctors who did prescribe menopausal hormone therapy, it was really not well understood by doctors who were coming up. There were plenty of doctors who just were like, yeah, we've reached menopause, nothing we can do about it. I do think that there was a lot of a sort of casual suck it up tone, that took over, and to me it sort of merges with the general misogynistic ageist reality that older women are the last group it's agreed can be the target of insensitive jokes about their undesirability, for example. It's just this feeling that older women are not treated with respect and care.
What do you think, Blanche? Am I through with my cycle? Well, I'd say menopause is a pretty good guess. You're about as puffy as the Pillsbury Doughboy.
Especially dealing with menopause or breast.
Forget it.
Then just die.
Call her hot flash true. That's so hot.
We even age out of the bad things like being fetishized or diminished or talked down to. It's even worse. You're invisible.
I'm supposed to be your mother.
My wife.
You're shamed. You're unseen.
Oh, grody.
Then, menopause.
A 67-year-old woman in China gave birth this week. The birth set a record for most friction.
I have to be honest that Jake Silverstein came to me, my editor at the New York Times Magazine, the editor-in-chief, wanted me to write a big story about menopause, and it's fascinating to me now that I actually hesitated. I actually wasn't sure that it was a topic that I wanted to be too closely associated with. My college friends, when when I told them that, they said, but that's why you have to write the article, is because it needs to be destigmatized. And of course they were 100% right. And I'm glad that I did, because not only was it a pretty fascinating inquiry to me at least, but it also brought me up to speed on the range of options that are now available to women who are seeking relief for menopausal suffering.
Like what kind of options?
So there's really been a lot of development of other kinds of ways of administering hormones for women who need care. There are patches that are lower doses. There's a micronized progesterone that it's hoped that that's closer to women's own progesterone, such that perhaps the risk of breast cancer might be lowered. And for women with a cancer history who are not strong candidates for menopausal hormone therapy, now there's a drug on the market. Hopefully, insurance will eventually cover it, called Pioza, that is a non-hormonal option for treating hot flashes. And there are new ways of getting good care from doctors trained in menopausal health by telemedicine. There are online subscription services that make it extremely easy to get access to the hormones. And obviously these things take time. I think it's going to be a big learning curve, both for doctors and how to make this information available in a way that is both concise but nuanced, and for patients to learn that this is something that they have the right at least to consider.
Right.
But also in the culture, especially in the past few years, there's been a new conversation about menopause itself.
We're talking about what my friend Maria Shriver and I call the big M.
You know, Oprah has talked about it.
I, too, am a hormone taker.
Michelle Obama has talked openly about it.
Just hot flashes. I mean, I had a few before I started taking hormones. I remember having one.
So I do think there's really positive change in all of this.
You cannot outrun, you cannot out-earn, you cannot out-exercise, you cannot out-yoga, you cannot out-box the big M. You cannot. The menopause train is coming no matter what.
So by the time my article was published, this article just came out in the New York Times. I think what I wrote really kind of hit a nerve.
Women have been misled about menopause.
But that was a nerve that was already a little bit live before I got there.
Susan, let's start with you, because I've even had friends who asked me about it as recently.
Unless you live under a rock, you most likely have seen it or been sent it by.
It seemed to really connect with women who wanted a lot of information in one place.
It's one of the best things as a woman in menopause I have ever read. You're going to see yourself in the stories.
And a lot of, I think, frankly, voicing of what they had been going through. I just think it was a quick way to convey to people around them that that menopause is no joke. You know, that it is a real thing in women's lives, and it needs to be taken seriously. And it's shocking, frankly, that it hasn't been talked about from the rooftops for longer than it has.
So your article clearly struck this nerve, but I'm wondering if you know whether things have actually shifted inside the doctor's office for women who are literally going through this right now.
So I do think for women who are going through this now, I'd like to think the door has been open for more of these conversations by the work that's been collectively done. I mean, just, you know, some doctors have told me that they have a QR code that they give to women so that they can read the article. Doctors have told me they now have waiting lists because so many people are coming in to talk about something that they didn't realize was even a topic of conversation they should be engaging in. I don't know, I personally found it very moving that my friend's daughter, a college student, read this article. To me, the idea that she's going to go through life feeling like this is not a mystery, that she has some answers, that she knows, you know, the range of things that she might expect. For me, it always just felt like this wave that was eventually going to come at me, and I would just have to kind of figure out how to ride it whenever I got there. You know, whether that was it going to mean I would stop writing, was it going to mean that I felt nothing, as many women do. Many women have minimal symptoms. It's my hope that the information is out there and that women going through it don't just feel more empowered, but like, you know, all women who are going to get there eventually.
Well, this woman has definitely been thinking about it in this conversation, and yeah, I do feel more confident and more informed to face what will happen to me.
Yeah, I think what's exciting about this moment, and I do think that, you know, as the media says, like, menopause is having a moment. I don't think it's really just about menopause, and I don't think it's just about the symptoms, and I don't think it's just about the treatment, although all of that is really important. I think it's a moment of women who are older saying, we are important, and the things that we care about are important, and the things that we are talking about among ourselves, that's important not just to us, or at least it should be important to people other than us.
And maybe that important moment that you're describing, that older women saying that we matter, will feed back into the doctor's office and will feed back into those appointments where women go to find solutions and discuss menopause and their symptoms.
And their care in general. Yeah, I like to think that there could be a kind of virtuous cycle in which, you know, older women feel that they are being heard in the doctor's office, which is, of course, not divorced from culture itself. They do interact, and that their care in general might even improve.
Right. Like, maybe they wouldn't be
red car, good spot right there. Right by that white one or something. Right there.
Hello. Yeah. I'm here to just stock the RTA table.
Okay. Go to the next row. There should be a few empty spots there. That will get you closer to the gate.
Okay, thanks.
Parking?
What was that?
You parking?
What?
Are you parking?
No.
No, you're leaving?
No, I'm parking.
Oh, okay. Right, go. I don't think they have space over there, but just check.
Okay. Man, that guy had an accent. Oh, that's super soggy. Da, 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 da.
just offhand rebuffed,
Yeah.
like you were.
that would be a good outcome for sure. You know, I want to be clear, like, I'm really not here to advocate for menopausal hormone therapy for women because every woman's health condition is different, everybody's risk-benefit analysis is different, everybody's profile is different, but every woman should have the right to feel that there is time and space for the conversation and to have their symptoms taken seriously, whatever they decide to do.
Susan, thank you.
Oh, thanks so much for having me on.
So, I'm curious, what did you end up doing? What did you decide for yourself?
I am on, I'm taking estrogen and progesterone, pretty low dose, and I have to say that my hot flashes have completely gone away, and I think I hadn't really appreciated how much they were bothering me until they did go away, but I probably won't stay on them for more than 5 years at most because I do have a slightly elevated risk of breast cancer given my family history. But I know that in 5 years I will probably have to do some real thinking and having some conversations and gather information and, you know, make the best choice that I think I can make.
We'll be right back.
What the fuck's going on? People driving over the line.
Find everything your imagination craves on Audible. Stay up late with a tense thriller. Listen in on a swoony romance. Or get some new inspiration and motivation from the pros. And so much more. It's all there in just one app. Audiobooks, popular podcasts, and exciting new originals. There's thousands of included titles with more added every week, so you can always find something new. You'll find all the best audio entertainment at Audible, the home of storytelling. Sign up for a free 30-day trial at audible.com/thedaily.
Here's what else you need to know today. On Thursday, federal prosecutors added major accusations to an indictment charging former President Trump with mishandling classified documents after he left office, saying he told a maintenance worker at Mar-a-Lago to delete potentially incriminating footage from a security camera. The charges appear to strengthen prosecutors' case against Trump in the classified documents case, as they prepare to charge him in a second case over his efforts to overturn the 2020 election. That indictment is expected to come in the next few days. And in the latest evidence of global warming, the month of July is now on track to be the hottest month in recorded history, according to climate experts. Last month was the world's hottest June, and so far 2023 is likely to be the world's hottest year, displacing 2016. At the moment, the 8 warmest years in recorded history are the last 8 years. Today's episode was produced by Lindsay Garrison, Sydney Harper, Olivia Nance, and Diana Wynn, with help from Shannon Lynn. It was edited by Paige Cowett, with help from Patricia Willens. Contains original music by Marion Lozano, Daniel Powell, Alicia Baitu, and was engineered by Chris Wood. Our theme music is by Jim Brunberg and Ben Landsberg of Wonderland. That's it for the day. I'm Martina Stavis-Ritnick. See you on Monday.
Time for a quick break to talk about McDonald's. Wake up and bagelize. Get your taste buds ready for McDonald's breakfast bagel sandwiches, now just $3, only on the app. Choose from a delicious steak, egg, and cheese bagel, bacon, egg, and cheese bagel, or sausage, egg, and cheese bagel. Just $3 when you order ahead on the app. Hurry and seize this breakfast steal before it's gone. Offer valid 7/17/2023 through 8/13/2023 at participating McDonald's.
Man.
Valid one time per day or per person or any other limitation. Must opt into rewards.
Today's episode is sponsored by Apollo Global Management.
Good morning! Welcome to Axios Today. It's Friday, July 28th. I'm Felix Salmon in for Naila Boodoo, and today, why the use of donor embryos is on the rise. But first, a Spanish warning sign for the GOP. Our weekly politics state of play is today's one big thing. Axios' Alex Thompson is here this week with what Washington's talking about and why it matters. Alex, welcome.
So good to be here.
I want to start by asking about what happened in Spain. This was the big news of the week for me. The far-right party in Spain was resurgent. It was doing well in the polls. It was anti-woke. It was talking about immigration and abortion, and it wound up imploding, and they didn't get into power at all. Is this something that Democrats are hopeful will happen in 2024, that this culture war stuff is going to backfire on Republicans?
Absolutely, and I think actually some Democrats would argue it already happened in 2022 and in 2018 when you saw Democrats essentially make huge gains in both houses of Congress where voters were